Hi everyone, it's Melody with Design by Melody. I'm here with my Gossamer Blue kit, and I thought I'd take just a moment before we got into today's layout to kind of tell you or show you how I work with a kit when I don't have a whole lot left. So one of the first things I do, of course, is lay out all of the supplies so I can see everything. I've got all my cards here. I've got so as you can see, I've got 10 3x4 cards and one 4x6 card left. I've got 2.5 stickers left. Of course, I have my stamp set. I have 3 chipboard pieces left. I'm actually going to go ahead and punch these out just so it's easier to see. I've got my washi tape, of course. I just kind of lay everything out to the side. These are all my little bits and pieces and strips of things that I've cut off of cards. I keep everything until I'm totally done with the kit just to kind of see if I can use it. I've got a half of a label that I punched out of one of the cards. I've got these 2 pieces that I cut off of a card, but I can use them as embellishments. I have my 2 paper clips left, and then I have a whole bunch of little tags that I have been punching along the way to use for journaling and other little bits and pieces. One I've stamped with documented, one I punched out the word lovely. Everything else is just punched from the patterned cards. So that's everything that I have left from the kit right now. And I'm kind of at the point to where I'm like, okay, do I have enough to make another layout or do I not? I have some stuff. I have cards, obviously, but I just don't really have a whole lot of embellishments. And I have a really difficult time with these clips, so I don't even know if I'll end up using them or not. And if you've watched me for a while, you'll notice that I don't use a whole lot of florals. I'll use the more like cartoony, whimsical looking florals, not necessarily the realistic ones. So for me to have these 2 left, I can kind of understand why. Same thing with these 3 cards. I know why I have those cards left. So I pulled out a photo that I want to scrapbook. Now this is not the best photo. It's not a very good quality. It was taken from a cell phone and the room was slightly dimmed, I believe. But this is when my younger sister had her baby. And the last layout I did with this kit was one of his newborn pictures that I scrapbooked. So I wanted to make sure to get this in my album. Again, it's not the best picture, but it's more about the memory than it is about the picture. So I'm going to scrapbook this, and I want to do a 12x12 page. I just don't have that many Project Life pages to do right now. I have a lot of 12x12 pages to do. So that's what I'm going to use this kit for. So I think what I'm going to do, and I still have the supplies kind of off to the side of my desk that I had pulled out before that kind of coordinate with this kit, just the colors. So I have those off to the side that I'm going to mix in here. But I'm kind of, like I said, at the point to where I'm going, okay, what can I use? Do I have enough to make a layout or do I not have enough? So kind of like these 2 cards. This one says enjoy and this is what a wonderful world. So I kind of think I want to do some sort of cluster in the center. Is there anything else I want to use? No, I think that's it. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I keep clearing my throat. And I still have my Jen Hadfield DIY Home paper pad here. It just kind of matches the colors. And what I did is I went ahead and pulled out this one. I just like this one. So I think I'm going to use it opposite of how I would normally do. Normally I would put the darker ombre at the bottom and keep the lighter at the top, but I think I'm going to do opposite. I will trim up this edge, by the way. Let's just see how this looks. This is kind of my pre-planning that I typically do, if I do any pre-planning. This is what I would do before I turn on the camera. So I just wanted to give you guys a glimpse into that so you can see what I do. Maybe you'll find it helpful, I don't know. Will I use these last ones? Let's see. I kind of think I could do that there. I just don't like that floral. But I could alter that. I could cover it in gold washi. Maybe layer this tab over it, or that label over it. Could cut out the documented and put it on there. I like currently, I just don't like the floral that's around it. Could layer this over here. Oh, and I do have, in my little embellishments that I pulled out, I do have this camera that's kind of in the same tones, and I can layer it right over that floral. Do I like it like that? I kind of like it like that. I want that wording to show. And if I did that and then covered this with this one, you wouldn't see those florals as much, and that's more my style there. I also have these Pink Fresh Studio acetate die cut words from Life's Noted. I think I'm going to use this, Hooray. I pulled it out a while ago because it kind of matches that same tone. It's a different blue, but whenever you add it to a slightly colored background, it turns out to be the same. So I think I'm going to add that down here as my title. I keep a lot of things on my desk that are partially used, or this is just kind of where I throw different scraps and things that may be the end of a package. Like these were the end of a package, so I threw them in here just to see when I could use them. These came off of a pocket letter that Denise sent me. These are those labels left over from my Stampin' Up kit. So I keep a lot of like random miscellaneous embellishments in here. And then I also keep this on my desk, which are, these are almost like things I want to try to use up so I don't forget about them. Like I have 2 rub-ons on here, things with like 3 stickers on them. I keep all of this right here on my desk, that way I can pull from them and use them up. Like there's only 2 stickers on there. That way those type of things don't sit in my stash forever. And that's where I got all of these types of products from, because they were sitting in there. And then I also have my scrap box that I've started to keep it on my desk too, to pull from. So I feel like I can make a layout out of this. Like I feel like this is enough to make a layout out of. I'm still going to have a lot of cards left, so we'll do this again after I finish this process and see if I can make any more layouts. If I end up using all the chipboard and all the stickers and truly all I have left are cards, I'll probably be done with this kit. So we'll see what I make. I'm going to put these cards off to the side. Got my stamp set here too. I'm going to put these cards off to the side and we'll see what I make with this. And we'll see what I have left. This may be the last layout with this kit. I'm not sure. So we'll find out. Alright, so I'll go ahead and get into the process. I just wanted to give you guys kind of a glimpse of that before I started, because it might be helpful for you. I don't know if anybody else tries to use up a kit or before they disperse it into their stash or what they do, but I like to try to get as much as possible out of a kit before I am done with it. So, alright, stay tuned. The process video will be right next. Okay, so now I am actually going to start putting some stuff together. Since I had pulled this 12 by 12 paper out of a paper pad, it had that, what do you call that? The perforated part at the top, so I just wanted to trim that out. But the very first thing I'm going to do is actually do a little bit of stitching. So I think I've mentioned this before, but when I use these acetate word pieces, I like to stitch them on because I do not like being able to see the adhesive behind it. Now I do have a Brother sticker maker machine thing. It's kind of like a large Xyron machine, but I had gotten it at like one of those daily deal sites, and I have, I think, probably 10 sticker cartridges with it. So excuse me, I'm still clearing my throat, by the way. But I could definitely put that in there and make it into a sticker so the entire back of that acetate piece would be covered with the adhesive and you wouldn't be able to see it as much. But I found that it kind of makes the acetate pieces a little cloudy. So instead of doing that, I like the stitching, so I just went ahead and stitched that Hooray on instead of adhering it. And I am going to add a little bit of stitching at the top just to kind of mimic the stitching at the bottom so it's not only in one place. I like to sew on my layouts, so doing that is, I just like the way that it looks. So as I mentioned, I am actually going to be covering this tab with the washi tape, and I just use my X-Acto knife to trim out around it, and then I will use my scissors just to kind of clean up a little bit. But there's that gold tab, and it worked great. I am very pleased with how that turned out. And I'm going to layer this documented stamped, I had stamped it on one of the labels that I had punched out. So I just cut it out to make it a little bit more square, and I'm going to put it kind of not centered on the tab because it's a little too long to be just on that tab, but I am putting it kind of off, hanging off the tab a little bit. I did have this little piece that I had cut off of a card, and it had the date as well as Monday through Sunday, and so I'm just going to put that on there. And I started to cover up Sunday because that's the day that he was born, but I don't like the way that that looks, and later I'm going to move that. I'm going to end up making that into a banner. So I'm just kind of going through all the little pieces on my desk to see what works, and I'm going to kind of layer my little cluster here on top of a piece of this washi tape. I don't always like how the cluster, like the large cluster, floats. I like having a little bit of a grounding element on there, whether it's ribbon or washi or something similar to that, or just like an L shape or a more paper strips. I feel like the layout needs something to kind of rest on. Otherwise it just looks like it was kind of plopped down in the middle of the page. Now, sometimes that's the look I'm going for, and sometimes it's not. And today was one of those not days. I'm going to add, I'm just trying a couple other little things. I had some strips of white paper, so I just layer it on top of the washi to see if I like that, but I'm going to end up taking that off. That's not going to stay that way. I'm also using some of the little bits and pieces around just to see what else I can do. So I had a piece of paper. Well, I had that sticker that had the little green, teal, or I guess teal bit, and then I had a different color on top of the flag part. So I covered that with gold, again, just to cover up that flag and make it a little bit more usable for what I like. And I'm just going to layer that kind of under that August date label that I made, and I had made that into a banner as well. Now, I'm sure you guys are this way too. Whenever you take something off, you can never get it layered down exactly the same way. And those cards looked a little funny to me the way that I was laying them back down. And I had wanted to make sure that you could see the words. And the words actually say, "What a wonderful world." And then, of course, the top one says, "Enjoy." I like using cards on my layouts. I think they're a nice little embellishment to include. And I'm using up pretty much the last label here. I have one that's half of a label that's it's not going to make it on this layout. And if I don't end up using it with this kit, I'll just throw it in that little embellishment box that I had showed you guys at the beginning, where I keep extra little bits and pieces. Now I have this last chipboard piece that says "All Good," and I'm going to kind of create a small cluster right here around my Hooray title. And I'm just using different little bits and pieces of that gold washi tape. I had punched out some small banners with it. And that's really nice to actually use the washi tape that way, to where you can make banners out of it. Just put your washi tape on a piece of scrap paper or extra cardstock or something, and just make sure it's white if it's a transparent washi tape, and then do some punching out of it. Now I put in these enamel dots. I think they're like glitter enamel dots. These were given to me by a dear friend, and I think they're Rosie's Studio. And I'm just making some small clusters here, and I am going to reinforce those just to make sure that they stay. I don't think I need to do this, but I am. They were pretty easy to move around, and I didn't want there to be a risk of them falling off later. Now this layout came together fairly quickly. As you saw in my pre-planning piece of that, I don't always do pre-planning, but when I do, it does make my layout come together fairly quickly. I hope you guys enjoyed kind of seeing that peek into my process. I usually do that whenever I'm trying to figure out what photo to scrapbook next, and I don't always do that on screen. I'm usually doing that like when I'm preparing to film. I'll go, okay, well, I'm going to use this kit and I'm going to scrapbook this photo. Well, sometimes my photo choice is dependent upon which kit I'm using or what products I have left. So excuse me. So whenever I was looking at this kit, I didn't have many options. So I had to make sure that I had a photo that would work. And so that was kind of the pre-planning piece of that. Now I'm adding my journaling, and all my journaling says is, though it took him a while to get here, Finn finally arrived healthy and happy. So my nephew, they had to induce my sister. I think they induced her on Thursday. She didn't have him till Sunday. We were at the hospital forever, and I ended up having to leave before he was born. So I had drove in. I live about 3 hours away from them, and I had drove in on Friday, and we had stayed. My mom and I had pretty much stayed at the hospital with my sister and her husband for 2 days. We would leave and go get lunch, or leave and go do a little bit of shopping and come back. And of course, we didn't stay overnight because she wasn't in active labor. They had induced her. So it took my nephew forever to get here. And so I'm just kind of journaling about that a little bit. Now I am taking my layout to my sewing machine to do a little bit more of that stitching at the top that I mentioned before. And I still have a little pile of things to use. I have my stamp. I have my washi tape. I have that half of a sticker. That's all I've got left. I used up all the chipboard. I've got all my labels that I punched out. I'm pretty positive I'm done with this kit. You will see here shortly whether I'm done with it or not, because you're either going to see another layout or you're going to see a Kit video for this Gossamer Blue 2016 August Life Pages kit. I hope you enjoyed this layout. I really like the way that it turned out. I think it's really kind of a nice, soft layout, and it's not overly embellished. It's kind of nice and simple, but it's, I just like the way that it looks. Just adding a few little bits and pieces. I always do this before I finish with a layout to see if there's anything that needs to be added or anything else that, needs to be moved or adjusted or whatnot. And then I'm kind of fussing around with this little white label. I try to put a strip there, and then I decide just to put a label there instead. So that finishes out this layout. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a great afternoon. Bye, guys.